Hello and welcome to another episode of the Big Picture Podcast, the only podcast in the world that talks about movies, TV shows, and video games. I'd like to just remind you all that you can find us on Twitter and Instagram @_the Big Picture, alongside listening to us on all the major podcast services and on YouTube. Just search for the Big Picture and you'll find us. It's just that easy. Now that the housekeeping is out of the way, let's meet our marvellous panel. Our first panelist loves capitalism so much that it's one day his dream to make an expensive suit of armour to go around and beat up people from all over the world before returning to his mansion and lecturing people on how they should behave in public. Everybody welcome Rhys. Rhys, you want to talk about superheroes?
If there's one thing I hate more than superheroes, it's capitalism. So thanks for that intro.
Iron Man's lawyer there with a prepared statement. Our next guest, despite living on a quiet island for much of his youth, has entered society as a violent and anger-fueled rage monster. You won't like him when he's angry, so you probably won't like him for the whole episode. It's Lewis. How are we doing today, especially seeing how you are the people's champion for the last episode?
For once in my life, I'm not angry. I'm getting over all my issues. That was a good episode last time. Like I said, I kind of preached to the fans. They were going to be the voice of reason, and I was right twice.
If you want to win, guys, pander. That's all you have to do. That's your superpower for today. Next up is a man whose lifelong dream is to be used as a propaganda icon and the poster child for good behaviour. I'm not sure about America's ass, but can he settle for Ayrshire ass? It's Jack. How are you?
Pretty good ass. That's true. That's not bad. I gets by. I'm doing all right, Stuart. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm excited for today's topic. Thanks for asking. Yeah.
I swear Jack's lifelong dream is just to win an episode.
Will today be that Make-A-Wish Foundation episode for Jack? Who knows?
If I won, that'd be like 3 out of like 20?
It's better than 0 out of 20. I don't know. We'll have to look at the records.
I could fudge the records. It's all right.
There you go. Everything you read's a lie. Jack winning his 20th episode today. Here we go. Last but certainly not least, it's a man who I would not be surprised trying to save the world with a dance-off, and I'm sure he's got several awesome playlists at his disposal. Just don't look at his Twitter, it's all about religion. Our very own Star-Lord, Adam. Are you excited to be here?
Yeah, very excited.
Good stuff. Today's topic, of course, is Marvel's Wandavision, the hit television show that is the first streaming show for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What's the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I hear you ask? Well, it's only the highest grossing film franchise of all time, with a release of 23 films over the past 10 years, and now they're done with the big screen. They're trying to conquer your living room with WandaVision, a quirky TV show about two superheroes, Wanda Maximoff and Vision, who are living their sitcom suburban life. But as things go on and they begin to enter new decades, the couple begin to suspect that things are not as they seem. To start us off, I'd like to quickly go around the panel. In a couple of sentences, give us your quick thoughts and also what your favourite sitcom era was on the show. So we'll go to Jack first. Jack is an avid watcher of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU, as you die-hard fans call it. What did you think of WandaVision?
I absolutely loved it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic viewing. I thought that I was never bored. There was never a part that I didn't like. I enjoyed everything that happened. I liked that it constantly kept me guessing about what could come next. I liked that it always, whatever I maybe thought was going to happen, it always seemed to prove me wrong or take another direction. So I was always kind of kept on my toes for what it was going to be, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think my favourite decade, it would have been the decade of the now if they actually did the Office episode properly, but they didn't. Maybe that's the one drawback of the series, but I did quite like the 70s decade.
There we go, Jack, a 70s child at heart. Good, some good words from Jack. Let's go to Adam next. So Adam here is not only a keen MCU fan, but he is a big Marvel Comics reader. So Adam, what were your thoughts on the show?
I really enjoyed it. Maybe not as much as Jack. I had some maybe didn't enjoy the first two episodes as much. I think that's maybe from being a comic reader. I think when you know of certain storylines, I'm sure we'll go into later, about the Scarlet Witch and Wanda Maximoff, and you kind of know, you get an idea what will probably be going on. But what I will say is that for that, they kept it original and they did a few things you didn't expect. Even as someone who's read the comics, I think the MCU is always good for that. My favourite era, as much as Jack bashed it, I enjoyed the kind of 2000s, the 2010s era with the kind of Office intro and then the kind of Modern Family theme they had going on.
Just kicking Jack's likes and arguments all to the ground already.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I did enjoy it. Like, you know what I mean? It was good, but yeah, I think. See, I just, if it was just more like The Office, I think it could have been a bit better.
If you're listening, Kevin Feige, season 2, The Office. That's all we want. I'd seen a lot of people complain about the first 2 episodes being a bit slow. What did you think, Lewis? You have prior experience with the MCU, but you're more of a self-proclaimed DC fan. What did you think of Marvel's big streaming show?
That was like a backhand insult there. I can see why people would say that like the first couple episodes were slow, but I think that's more to do with the fact that we're used to this sort of instant gratification era and not more long-term storytelling. I was a bit worried about how the MCU deal with magic. I do prefer how the DCU do it, but that's a topic for another day. But I actually enjoyed the show, even as a quote-unquote self-proclaimed DC fan. There wasn't a huge that I could fault it for. It was a good show. I particularly enjoyed actually the kind of Bewitched setting, like the kind of 60s/70s era. I think it really suited the motif they were going for with their particular, message they're trying to send, and that's probably what I kind of took from that short term.
I honestly didn't mean that as an insult, because I'm a big pre-Marvel. I was a big DC fan. If only DC could get a show like this or a universe like this. What was your favourite sitcom era? Do you have one at all, or?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it was the Bewitched era, the 60s, where the black and white motif.
I wasn't listening. I'm a terrible host.
He doesn't listen.
I'll edit all of this, and the audience won't realise I'm the real Agatha all along. Good stuff. Thanks for that, Lewis. Lastly, Rhys, you're not a huge fan of the superhero genre. So what were your thoughts on having to watch yet another superhero story for this podcast? And unlike Lewis, could you tell me what your favourite era was?
Yeah, like I said, probably not the biggest superhero fan here, but only because I didn't grow up watching it, not because of any other reason. And I have been enjoying watching these, but what I would say is when I had to watch Mandalorian, I was kind of dreading that, and I was kind of dreading this as well. I'm like, oh great, another one again. But I genuinely think that this is the best new series I've watched in a long, long time. It was so good. I was very entertained. Like Jack said, there wasn't a minute where I thought, oh, this is a bit boring. I was always kept on my toes, always guessing what was going to happen next, always getting it wrong. So I loved it. And I would say that my favourite era is I really appreciated the homages to Malcolm in the Middle. I thought that was brilliant because I grew up watching Malcolm in the Middle and I loved that. But my favourite was, like Lewis, it was the 50s for me, the Dick Van Dyke era. I thought that the way they handled that was brilliant. I thought it was really funny, really clever to see something like that. You don't really see anything like that anymore in TV, so I thought that was really good.
So overall, positive messages from everybody. We all kind of liked the show. So for the pitches later on, it's going to be very tough to try and improve that. So our pitches are going to be a prediction of season 2. But before we get to all that, as we've talked a little bit about, the main tone and premise for the show was obviously using sitcoms as both a genre and a plot device. We'll go to Lewis first. How did you feel about watching this, and did the show handle it well?
Yeah, like it's hard to be unique now with so much being done in television. And for me, I really enjoyed the sort of skipping through time, going back and forth, using these kind of older storytelling devices to kind of get across the message of kind of loss and dealing with that and the ways that people go through it. My only caveat to though is I wish they did more of it. A lot of people were a bit disgruntled to kind of say the first 2 or 3 episodes are a bit slow because they don't kind of forward the plot too much, where I was kind of like Rhys. I actually enjoyed trying to figure out what was going on. I think one thing I should mention, I didn't watch this weekly episodically. I watched it in about 2 days. So I was able to kind of get that gratification going forward episode to episode, where I think people were kind of a bit disgruntled they weren't getting that. But I like the motif. I wish they did more of it throughout the series rather than kind of giving up on it about halfway. Well, not giving up on it, but kind of moving past it halfway. It's definitely unique and something I'd like to see kind of going forward, a bit more uniqueness.
As someone who did watch it weekly, Jack, do you think this sitcom premise lends itself better to that weekly release, or do you think it's better to just binge it completely from the get-go?
I think it suited the weekly release for what they were going for, like going like through the era. I think it was, if you watched it all at once, I think you would still enjoy it, but I think that maybe you wouldn't appreciate it as much as what it would have been of a weekly nature, like how I did, because I was like, from that point when I watched it on the Friday when it came out, I was like, oh god, I can't wait to watch this on the Friday. But having that there to watch it repeatedly, I don't know if I'd have the same kind of oomph to watch it, if that makes sense. I don't know. I feel there was just the way they had it going through the different eras on that weekly basis made it a bit more gripping for me to be like, oh, I really want to watch this next week. Whereas if I had the ability just to go and watch the next episode straight away, I don't think I'd be as fussed on it.
Just to add on to that, one thing that I was kind of with Respawn was I felt kind of apathetic to watching the show. I wasn't super excited about it, but after watching it in 2 days in a row, I kind of wished I watched it weekly episodically, because I feel like that would have enhanced my enjoyment of the show way more and kind of given you that delay of gratification, being able to try to figure out and, care and invest yourself more into the show rather than just like binging it where you just kind of are a bit disconnected.
I feel like you're both right here, because I was obviously like not that fussed about the show, but when I watched it, Jack said you might be a bit disengaged when you watch it all in one bulk, but I really was like, couldn't take my eyes off the screen when I was watching it. It was brilliant. But I do actually wish now that I'd gone and watched it as soon as they came out, because I could imagine how fun it would have been to theorize and look on Reddit and see other people's theories on what the next episode would be like, who's going to come into the universe and stuff like that. I feel like that would have been more exciting to do as opposed to watching it week by week. But I still really enjoyed watching it week by week, and I couldn't take my eyes off the screen.
I'd probably come in and just say, like, trying to get this, like, marches back a bit to we were talking about just the format that Lewis was saying. I actually thought that the way they were dropping a lot of hints, it actually reminded me of when you start reading a new comic, and it's something like WandaVision, and the closest example is the House of M, which is about Scarlet Witch basically remodeling the universe as she wants to see it. She creates kids for herself. It's a really interesting storyline, and you could definitely see there's a lot of inspiration has been drawn from that for this. And I thought in a very similar way, in the first few issues of that, you really don't know what's going on. You get it, and you're in this universe, and you're constantly asking why, and it's up to you, the reader, in this case the viewer, to kind of look and see the little hints are dropping as to what's happening, and then it slowly unfolds as the next issue comes out. And I thought that was something they did very well. It really sort of emulated the comics for me.
That's a really good point, Adam. We'll stick with you for that, because obviously a unique aspect of the show is its meta commentary and how it handles not only like comic book satire and sitcom satire, but the external factors to the show, such as Disney reacquiring the rights to the X-Men with that Quicksilver cameo. Was this a distracting part of the show? Did it take you out of it too much, or did it just fuel your hype?
I thought I enjoyed it. I thought with the fact that Marvel were really quiet in terms of like dropping hints as to how they're going to use the X-Men property, and I thought, it's maybe a bit cheap, and some would say, but I thought that instance of bringing in Quicksilver, what was a good teaser for like the fans who really enjoy X-Men, like myself, who are really looking forward to seeing what Marvel's going to do with the X-Men property now. In terms of overall, I did enjoy the satire, the little hints, the kind of the things that maybe you didn't notice first time, you go back and watch them again. I did, overall, I felt like it's kind of reminds me of when we were here talking about Mandalorian, the season 1, which overall, how would you rate Mandalorian season 1, if you had to?
Season 1, gun to my head, that is a 2 out of 8.
Oh,
A 2 out of 8.
That's a 2 out of 8. Season 2.
Why?
Star Wars films, Rhys.
Right, but yes. Anyway, to get back to my point, it reminds me of that we were talking about it, and if you could understand a lot of the things as a fan of Star Wars, or did you need to have seen all the films? Did you need to have done any background reading? And I think in the way where it's the same thing with WandaVision, maybe you wouldn't have got all the little hints to comic books, to certain comics over years if you hadn't read them. If you hadn't seen all the MCU films, you wouldn't have picked up other hints they dropped. But then again, I just think that means you can come into it at different levels as a viewer and still enjoy it. Because as we say, Rhys really enjoyed it, and he wasn't. I'm assuming, Rhys, that you didn't feel disappointed that you missed out on any of these little references to maybe lesser known Marvel properties.
Well, I've watched loads of videos on WandaVision since it's been finished, and a lot of them say, "Oh, you really need to have watched all the Marvel movies before this to really understand what was going on." And I feel like maybe that's true to the little Easter eggs in the background that Adam's talking about, but I feel like as a whole, it guides you through the story, the characters themselves not knowing what's going on, to it bringing you to the finale where it teaches you the story as you go along. And I went into this not knowing that Vision was a character. I thought it was called WandaVision because it was Wanda and it was like all these different TVs. So I had no idea what was going on at the start. And Adam, you're right. I'm not disappointed that I maybe didn't know the little things that go in the background. I feel like that was there for the big fans of Marvel, and I feel like they're doing a good job of kind of distancing themselves from the films, the Avengers films from before, where they can kind of start a new era of TV, which can bring in new fans that haven't seen all the stuff before and don't have the time to watch the 30 or 40 films before it. So, Adam, to answer your question, I still really enjoyed it and I didn't miss out on the wee Easter eggs.
That's good. There's the fact that the show bringing in new fans is obviously something that is very important, because if they alienate all of those, then they've lost viewership. So it's good that they can counteract all the weight of the franchise, because like you said, we're nearly 25 films. That's a lot of homework you have to do just to watch 9 episodes or 6 episodes. But obviously the show is still very much a part of the MCU at large, albeit very different, as it's not only a TV show, but a very different TV show to the norm. How does this compare to the rest of the cinematic universe for you, Jack?
I don't know if it's fair to compare it. I think as Rhys said, it's branching into something different. Like if you told me that we were going to get WandaVision as a movie, I don't think as much interest would have been there to begin with compared to the kind of TV series we're getting. I'm liking that we're kind of going in that direction, and it's allowing characters that maybe didn't have as much of a focal point in these Avengers movies to kind of take the front stage for these like different mediums that we're going to get in a TV series, and then we're going to have movies that could potentially mean something more and wider that can affect the TV series that are going to be played as well. I think it's hard to compare, but I'm very much looking forward to what can happen next.
To add to a little bit of what Jack said there, about not being able to compare them, I think it's very difficult because unlike when, again, it's such an easy example, but I'm gonna use it again. We talk about Mandalorian. That's easy to compare with other Star Wars properties because the episodes in that always flow like a movie, and you feel like you're watching a movie sometimes because it's only an hour long, but then just I think with the flow of the action and the plot, you generally, for me, it felt like it had the kind of and it ends with a big set piece as well. That for me felt like a movie almost every time I sat down to watch it. Well, this is such a TV show. It's even playing on the TV show formula, and it's so determined to be a TV show. I think it stands on its own at the moment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as the first TV show, and I think that's why it's difficult to compare.
Keeping with this kind of topic about the films and the shows, Jack posed an interesting question. We were discussing what we would talk about in this episode, so I'll kind of ask you all this question. With the MCU, the content is now ramping up on the television show end. We've got Falcon the Winter Soldier premiering this week, or last week when this airs. We've got Loki and Hawkeye, etc. Do you think this will make the films more special, or do you think it's all just going to get bloated and just too much content?
I just want to come in as the non-Marvel fan here. I really enjoyed Endgame, and a lot of people did. Not as many people as Avatar, but whatever. I'm actually quite excited now. I feel like they'd gotten to a point by the end of Endgame where you'd kind of made all these like superstar heroes in the Marvel universe, and killed some of them off. Some of them have decided to leave, whatever. And I feel like it's a good time to start again. So by having all these shows going with the characters that aren't maybe as big as maybe your Captain Americas and your Iron Mans, I think these shows will build up the hype. And the more that they cross over into each other's universes, the more that it'll be like, what's going to happen? Where's this going to go? So as a new Marvel fan, I'm excited to see what happens. So I think that the movies will be brilliant. I think they'll probably compete on the same level as the Avengers movies.
I think that these much of what we were saying earlier on, and much that kind of like Rhys was saying as well, that the likes of WandaVision, Falcon the Winter Soldier, way back when these movies were coming out, you could not have pictured a Falcon movie, you could not have pictured a Winter Soldier movie, you could not have pictured a Wanda movie or a Vision movie at that. So they were kind of always kind of supplementary characters to help the narrative of the Avengers plot to get to where it needs to be. Obviously, we know that Vision played kind of a big focal point in that. Obviously, we had one of the Infinity Stones in his head, essentially, and that was the kind of one of the reasons why he was gone from that at the end. But with the TV series, it's allowing these characters to get that focal point for the next iteration, this next phase 4 of MCU. I think it's 4, and what we're going to go on to next, because obviously you could look at films that's happened before the MCU, like Ant-Man. Not many of people would have known, aside from the comic book fans, who Ant-Man was. I didn't know who Ant-Man was, and I was thinking, why are they doing an Ant-Man movie? But they managed to get someone like Paul Rudd, and you've got Paul Rudd leading the front of a movie, like folk are going to be interested and want to go. But now you've got this opportunity to have TV shows to get the story and point across, and you know how big this is going to impact things now. Obviously, we know what happens at the end of WandaVision at the after credits scene. We know what that's going to impact next, and that adds, she's going to appear up at this. That's going to be really cool. We know what's going to be happening with the Ant-Man movie. So there's so many ways that these TV series are able to drive that narrative, that focal point to make these movies so much special and potentially what the previous phases of the MCU did.
It's a really interesting topic because, like you said, a lot of these characters are supplementary. I mean, I don't think, before going into WandaVision, anyone was going to go out and say, Vision, Wanda, they're my favourite MCU characters. But with this show, what those characters and those actors have been allowed to show to the audience is really something, because one thing I've seen constant praise for is the acting from everyone, particularly from the leads, Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. So Lewis is someone who looks for something a bit more than generic action and superpower antics. What did you think of the acting on WandaVision?
I think Paul Bettany needs to get another role in Marvel after this, because holy shit. I thoroughly enjoyed his performance throughout the entire show. I think, Elizabeth Olsen, she does well. She's kind of...
we're all clapping up against some terrible interference on this call.
The show must go on, Lewis. Proceed.
I think Elizabeth Olsen's maybe just a bit not standard, but she definitely is up to par what she's done. But I don't think she's quite as excellent as Paul is, and I think Paul kind of outshines her in this particular episode. But I was very impressed with Quicksilver's performance. I don't know why I found him very engaging and very quality in his role of being the kind of very comedic realist in it.
I would say that Evan Peters is a brilliant actor, and that's why he's so good, and he was like the perfect casting choice as Quicksilver. And when Fox cast him, I'm really glad he got to do this, because I think he's excellent, and he's an underrated actor, I would say.
All for a boner joke, eh?
Hey.
All for a boner joke.
Nice.
Unbelievable. I thought he was really good. Obviously, when this came in, everyone was like, "Oh fuck, this is it. X-Men's going to come in. This is going to be the thing." And we all actually just got done for a boner joke. But just to reiterate what Lewis said, Paul Bettany, give that man another knighthood, not another knighthood, Sir Paul Bettany. Give him two. Give him back-to-back knighthoods. Give him the women's that we so desperately deserve. Give him everything. Give him the world. Paul Bettany, take a bow, son. Take a bow.
Well, boy, guys, I feel like you're all missing out with the real star of the show. Catherine Hahn does an absolutely amazing job as the villain in this, and I think she honestly, out of everyone, best acting performance in it. I really rated her performance so highly, and I'm glad that they didn't kill her off because I really wanted to come back into the next season or at some point in the timeline anyway, because I really highly rated her performance. I think she deserves an Emmy off this performance. It was that good.
Oh yeah, by the way, spoiler alert in case you haven't figured that out yet, audience.
Everyone's been watching this show, all right? Apparently, this is the new Mandalorian, and do you know what? It's about time. Mandalorian, season 1, 2 out of 8. Season 2, 4.5 out of 8. You know, that's nothing. WandaVision, 16 out of 10 for the 16 Marvel movies. You know, we all know them. Iron Man, Godfather Part 2, Zack Snyder's Avengers. Anyway, speaking of the villain, we've got Rhys saying about how wonderful Catherine Hahn played the villain in this, and I don't think I can disagree. She was fantastic. But according to the showrunner of this, the main villain is grief, which is a really good, powerful theme to have in the show. But I have a question. Is Wanda the villain? Because she does a lot of messed up stuff. I mean, does she get let off the hook too easy, Adam? What do you think?
I was just kind of looking for IMDb. I'm trying to find who played Grief. I don't remember that character.
Hey.
Oh,
Right.
Adam, well done. That was a good one.
Yeah, I guess that's the way to interpret it. The way she walks away, and then she probably feels more guilty at the end about what's happened. Guilt's is actually a common theme of Scarlet Witch's character. As you know, you think of Civil War, when she's responsible for the explosion in Lagos, and then it's something that she also feels terrible about, and she's part of the reason the Sokovia Accords are brought in. She was part of the reason that Sokovia was destroyed. So guilt is a huge part of her character, and it's, as we know about her, it's almost like her character trait is to affect large numbers of people in a negative way, and then have to deal with it afterwards. I guess that's the way of looking at it. You could say she's the villain. I'd like to think that it's, it is about talking about how grief can make you do strange things, and sometimes you just need a bit of support, and if you're not getting that, then maybe that's what can drive people over the edge. And if you need support out there, audience, don't forget to ask for it.
Nice. I just want to pick up on that. I would say that definitely Wanda is the villain, but more on that later. Yeah. But I would say that the show does a really good job. I'm someone that really appreciates themes in writing in film, and the show does a really good job. Everyone's kind of focusing on the fact that it was kind of meta to do the different genres and the different decades of TV throughout the years, but what the show actually does during that is displays the 5 symptoms of grief, and it does it in a really good way that you kind of you're not focusing on that too much, and it kind of hides away from the fact that that's where the show's taking you because of the meta TV decades commentary that it does. So the show portrays this in a really good way, and I think that does a great job. But Wanda's definitely the villain in this, but I can't say too much on that just now.
Well, don't leave us in suspenders, Rhys. I think with that, I think that the discussion out the way, I think it is now time to move on to the pitches. So let's hear what the guys have been cooking up. But just like how sitcoms have surprise cameos, so do we, because, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the wheel is back.
Oh, yeah!
It's back. Now, some of you cynics might just say that, oh, Stewart, you're only bringing the wheel back so that people can't complain to you if they're last. And to that I say, Jack, hurry up and bring the wheel up. All right? There's too much spotlight on me.
Yeah, see why you're loading that up? I just want to say, I'm currently sat in my car at the beach, and I haven't realised because I've not really been outside because, lockdown and that. But I think hay fever season's starting again because I genuinely had to mute my mic like 3 or 4 times just to sneeze. It's been going crazy. So fun times, but nice view. probably
Maybe you're
the
just
nicest
allergic to
view.
the beach.
Well, I'm not a fan of the beach. Huh? I don't like sand. It gets everywhere. I'm not even on the beach, and I know I'm going to have sand in my shoes later. Oh, scum.
There's too many Star Wars references in that this Marvel episode for my liking.
That one went over my head. Sorry.
That's how much of a Star Wars fan Rhys is. He makes Star Wars references even when he doesn't realise it. He even snores like Yoda.
I do snore there. It's a bit. I've woken myself up from snoring before. It's that loud.
Well, here we go. The wheel is up, so let's take it away. And Jack, spin that wheel. Wheel of Vision, wheel of Vision, wheel of Vision. Oh, it's on Rhys.
Yeah.
So, Rhys, take it away.
Oh wait, I've not actually got my notes up yet. Guys, be prepared for a roller coaster of emotions as I lay out to you my novella Stewart pitch, because Stuart's not here to do it this week. Right, so prepare yourself, because I think the layout of the episodes jumping from decade to decade and show to show is very meta. So I'm going to try and continue to be meta. It may be my demise, but what I'm going to do is for the first half of season 2 is going to be a prequel to season 1, and the second half is obviously the sequel. So the reason I'm doing this is it gives background into how the two universes, look guys, how they're going to combine, and then you'll also have the drama and the tease of the series that it's going to tie into, because I am doing a pitch for season 2 to be a WandaVision and Loki crossover. So Loki is going to be the villain in my season 2. So to start it off, we give some background on how I think these two are combined, because we see Loki's scepter in episode 5. So at the very least, he is known in this universe. But obviously Loki died because of Thanos. But this will be the Loki who escaped with the Tesseract in Endgame. And in the Loki trailer for his upcoming show, he's been captured by the Time Variance Authority, the TVA. And obviously, guys, best part of that is we get Owen Wilson in the Marvel Universe. That's great. Wow.
Wow.
Anyway, prequel episodes. So the TVA have sent Loki to investigate an anomaly at Westview. As one of their prisoners, this is part of his responsibilities. Blah blah blah. So to do this, Loki infiltrates Sword and he shapeshifts to disguise as just your ordinary guy, and then Sword send him into Westview in a hazmat suit. Sound familiar, guys? Because that happened. Yeah. What happened with that guy after that? No one knows. It was never mentioned again. So, because Loki isn't privy to Wanda's magic, he's able to see that Vision is dead. And Loki was obviously present then in Westview when all the shenanigans was going down. So, he's seen it all. He knows that Vision's dead. Blah, blah, blah. Sequel episodes. So, after Wanda disappears, Loki follows her. We're then back at the post-credit scene where Wanda's reading through the witch lore. She hears her children screaming in the post-credit scene. If you've not seen it, guys, # spoilers. But she hears her children screaming, which means they are somewhere in the universe. Loki comes to her and he says that the TVA have trapped her children away due to breaches in the multiverse. And he says that they also have the Mind Stone. So if she helps him take the TVA down, she can free her children and get the Mind Stone to bring back Vision. Wow. Why would she not turn that down? She's a grieving woman. So she accepts and they team up and they infiltrate the TVA and they fight. Whilst doing this, White Vision shows up looking for the Mind Stone and he gets in the scrap. That's always good. And then Doctor Strange turns up and tries to restore order because that's his job. And during the big fight, White Vision and Wanda have an ultimatum of saving the children or getting the Mind Stone. White Vision chooses to get the Mind Stone, which leaves Wanda to save the children. Doctor Strange then captures them and restores order and prisons Loki and Wanda. What does this mean going forward? Well, there's a post-credit scene of normal Vision open his eyes, so that's exciting. And it means that Wanda can be in the Loki series as they're both imprisoned in the in TVA. I'm having trouble hearing you. Thank you, Siri. So, exciting. That's my pitch. Loki will be the main bad guy, but really it opens the question to, is Wanda the bad guy again? Because she is again being a bit of a bism. So guys, what do you think?
It's an interesting one. I don't know, because obviously the end of season 1, as you mentioned before, she went through like the 5 stages of like grief, and the last one's acceptance, and she kind of had that, but she started grieving again.
Well, Jack, I think that the reason she's going through the witch lore and reading through the whole book in the post-credit scene is, in my opinion, and through a lot of theories that I've read and videos I've watched, is because she's trying to find a way to get Vision and her children back, because she does say to Vision, we will see each other again during the last episode before they're gone. So I do think that she will be trying to bring them back, because she actively said that and then went through to learn everything that's in the witch lore.
Interesting. I did like it though.
Thank you.
It was good. That was just maybe my only thing about it, but you answered it, so well done. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, I liked it too. Did you set City up to see you off there at the end?
No, I just held I've actually got an Apple Watch, guys. I just held my hand too close to my mouth when I was exasperating my expressions with my arms.
Wow,
I don't know what you said.
Respect you gesturing. Well, we can't see you. That's dedication. You've gained a lot of respect from me there.
Dedication. Some guy down the beach waving his arms about and talking to himself in a car.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Lewis, did you have any thoughts on Rhys's pitch?
You know, it's a good pitch, and I like how Jack brings up the whole, but she went through the 5 stages of grief thing. I'm kind of with Rhys on this. I don't think she actually went through the last stage. I don't think she accepted the loss. My pitch will kind of delve into that as well, but I do have one question for Rhys. You mentioned Loki being the kind of one of the key villains in this particular arc. Now, we've seen Loki be a villain in, multiple Thor movies as well as the original Avengers. Are you concerned about maybe apathy towards Loki as a character, or are you just banking on a great performance by Hiddleston again?
I think Tom Hiddleston or Tom Holland, whoever it is that's playing him, I think he do a great job. I'm not overly concerned because I think he's well established in the Marvel universe, and I think he will bring a certain element to season 2 that kind of maybe needs that firepower, because it's got all these great performances, but will it have the viewing? Maybe Loki will bring that to it. So hopefully everyone agrees and loves it and votes for me.
For your consideration, Rhys's pitch. So with that, Rhys, would you like to take it away and shout at Jack in your car about the wheel?
No, because there's someone in the car next to me. She's got a window down, and I just feel like
ask her to do it.
Well, no, I just don't think that's appropriate. Someone else can take this one.
Spin that wheel.
Thanks, Adam.
Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Jack? Jack, it's your pitch. You're
Interesting. I am quietly shitting myself after I got the idea of the pitches wrong to begin with earlier on the week when we were deciding what we were doing. But I am ready.
As long as it's quiet.
I am ready to go. So, obviously, as was just mentioned with the Rhys, we were talking about the acceptance and the whole grief thing. I've taken it as that she has accepted it, and we saw at the end credits of season 1 of WandaVision that she was doing the whole Doctor Strange thing by looking through all different universes, and I've taken it as she's just looking to get her kids. I think she's accept, for me, of how I want to take it, that Vision is gone, quote unquote gone. So she's found a universe where her children are in danger. And this is going to lead on to the Doctor Strange movie with the multiverse madness stuff that's going on. So that's going to have a big impact on what's going to happen in season 2. But how I want the main narrative of season 2 going is that we obviously saw the two Visions fight in the ending of the first season of WandaVision, and the memory of Vision, Wanda's memory, obviously managed to restore all the memories of the Grey Vision and gave Vision this remembrance of who he was. And the last memory he would have would be in Wakanda, of where the Mind Stone was obviously destroyed on him. So he's gone back to Wakanda to try and retrace his footsteps, trying to find who he is and what he was, what he meant to the world, what he meant to himself, what he meant to Avengers. But more importantly, he hasn't realized at this point what's happened in the first season of WandaVision, because obviously there's no memory of it, and that's him kind of retracing his steps. So the story is going to kind of follow him going through that, and ultimately it's going to get to a point where he finds Wanda again. Obviously, all the multiverse stuff, madness is going on. Doctor Strange has been involved, but there's another movie that's coming out as well, and that's Ant-Man Quantumania. And we know from that the main villain is going to be, well, potentially the main villain, so on like kind of next Thanos-esque type thing, is Kang the Conqueror. So he's going to play a part in this TV series because he's going to be able to entrap Wanda and the kids in this one of the multiverses in some sort of prison thing. So the goal was Vision trying to remember what he was and trying to get back to finding Wanda, but also trying to have to deal with what's happening with all this multiverse stuff, eventually finding Wanda and the kids, attempting to fix what's kind of started, because she's going, not that she's going a bit rogue, but she's kind of doing things for herself still. And then ultimately we're going to find that Kang the Conqueror's kind of manipulating things, that's multiverse stuff that's going on. So that's where I want it to end up going, and I want a big fight at the end. I don't want a complete end fight, because I do think that's going to happen in a mixed character movie, but I do want this series to play to the point that what Ant-Man and Quantumania will probably start, that Kang the Conqueror is the big badass. Obviously he's not going to be as strong and as brawn, so to speak, as what Thanos is, but he's very smart and he's able to travel through time and destroy anything like that. So that's what I want this to say. I want this to act as a vehicle towards a big mixed character payoff of a fight against Kang the Conqueror.
I like it, Jack. We've got similar themes in that you've got Vision and the kids and all that. I do think that Wanda, as I said in my pitch, and I think Lewis will say in his pitch, that Wanda is wanting to get back with the actual Vision, but if White Vision can fill that hole in her life, then that'll be good. But I didn't know about Kang the Conqueror. It's something I'm probably going to look into after, and I'm glad there's a new Ant-Man film coming out, because I enjoy the Ant-Man films. So that's good. I really like that you've brought them two together. So, overall, Jack, if I say it's a good pitch, then I probably won't vote for you. So I won't say if I like it or not.
Thank you. The whole thing of it was like, I want Vision died, and I want to keep that as Vision dying. So obviously that meant something to back then, but we do have this new Vision being with the old memories. So I want that kind of battle of him finding himself again and of what he meant. So I want that kind of story to happen. I feel like that'd be quite a story to tell.
Not to tear you down, but do you not think when Agatha says you're now more powerful than the sorcerer himself, or whatever it was, she said you're now more powerful than Doctor Strange, essentially, and then Wanda saying to Vision that we will see each other again, do you not think that she would want actual Vision as opposed to White Vision?
Well, that could be something that could happen in season 3 of WandaVision. This is something I'm not trying to bring this to an end. I'm trying to keep this going. I'm trying to, as I said, I want to use this to have vehicles to something that could go bigger. And I think that series that I've potentially pitched could do that.
Wonderful.
More Paul Bettany. 12 more seasons of Paul Bettany.
That's also the kind of main driver behind what I want. I really love Paul Bettany.
We should just have someone should pitch a season where it's just Paul Bettany, all the different colours of vision, just all chatting away to each other instead of fighting.
Paul Bettany has to go undercover for Wimbledon. Paul Bettany's a Star Wars villain. It goes on and on.
Jack mentioned Jack mentioned the fight between Vision and White Vision, and I don't think we talked about that in the discussion. I just wanted to say that instead of them actually fighting and having it out with words, because they are obviously robots that are, sense more than anything. I really thought that was really clever, as opposed to the traditional Marvel battle. I thought that was really clever, and I really enjoyed that aspect of WandaVision.
That was, yeah, we didn't touch on that. The same goes for how Wanda got rid of Catherine Hahn. She kind of pulled a double whammy on it, so it was a good ending for the whole show. Yeah, if only we could get more endings like that. Doctor Strange was kind of the same. Does anyone else have any comments on Jack's pitch? His pitch.
Well, there you go. Jack may get votes if everyone thinks it's pish.
No,
no one cares.
It's that bad. Good. Who knows? Jack's
thoughts, yeah.
Jack's 20th win. Okay.
Refuse to comment.
Jack, would you like to do the honours for the wheel?
Of course, I could do the honours for the wheel. Should I say in the third person? Jack, spin that wheel.
Well, you've already ruined it.
I was just going to get Lewis to do it instead. Jesus Christ. It's Adam. Adam, you're up next.
Thank you.
Adam Bukiewicz. Sorry, go.
Thank you. Thanks. I liked.
Rhys, shut it. Adam, go ahead.
I enjoyed the first two pictures. Yeah. And I think that.
Apology accepted, Rhys.
Right. And I like.
Won't happen again, sure.
Right, I'm leaving the call. How'd you leave the call? But I like is that we've all managed to become writers for Marvel. We know what they like to do. We know that they like to tie things in. We are invested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the way that we are also in our pitches so far. I don't want to speak of Lewis's pitch. I've not heard it yet. Trying to tie in future movies and other plot lines, and mine's kind of doing that as well. Obviously, people thought that the inclusion of Quicksilver in WandaVision was a sign that there was going to be X-Men were involved. I think that I would like the X-Men involved. And the reason I'm going to bring that about is I want Wanda exploring her origins. I want that to be what she's looking for. I know we hear about her kids, we want to hear about who she is, and also the origin of her powers, because we know that the Mind Stone was involved. But it's what's said is that only her and her brother survived contact with the Mind Stone, which is obviously a hint that they had some kind of mutant powers before, which is obviously traditionally in the comics is that Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are mutants, and their powers just are organic, shall we say. So because of that, I want to see her looking into her background and realizing through her soul searching that she's not who she thinks she is. Her and her brother were not just a boy and girl and growing up in Sokovia. They have a different father in the form of Magneto. Wow, I know, it's not a surprise. He's officially their father in the comics. Of course, Magneto, X-Men villain, he was portrayed very well by Michael Fassbender in the most recent iteration of X-Men. Traditionally, very heartless, all about mutant superiority. I want to use WandaVision Season 2 as a chance to bridge into the X-Men universe, but I don't want to make it all about the X-Men. I want it to be more about Wanda's relationship with her estranged father. And I also want it to be about her relationship with her estranged half-sister, Polaris, who traditionally in the comics their roles would be reversed in the sense that Scarlet Witch is normally had an eye kept on her by Magneto and then eventually groomed to be almost a successor alongside Quicksilver. But Polaris has to hunt Magneto down and find out and force him to admit that he's her father. I want a sort of different. I want it to be that Scarlet Witch is the one interacting with Polaris and trying to find a way into this family, trying to find a bit more about herself. And at the same time, I want to have the dual narrative of White Vision, who, as we talked about, has all the memories of previous Vision, trying to be accepted by Wanda as like the new Vision. This is all you're getting now. I want to see Wanda having to try and become ingratiated in a society of mutants that she's not part of. She doesn't fit in. And I want to see Vision trying to step into the role. White Vision's already trying to step into the role of the normal Vision when he doesn't fit in because he's not the same. And I think it would bring in a real good narrative about identity, and also it would bring up the themes of family, which obviously were touched upon heavily in the first season of WandaVision. And I think it tips us off to the X-Men universe, but not too heavy. It just brings us in Magneto and Polaris, and then that can, it can lead on for future films, like we've talked about already, that they like to link things together. So it's a good opportunity to start the X-Men universe, get people invested in the X-Men property, and also to find out a bit more about Wanda herself as a character and her history. And that's pretty much all I've got to say.
Very interesting. How many boner jokes will be in this season?
It's all boner jokks.
Whoa.
Awesome.
You've got my vote. Adam, will Michael Fassbender be playing Magneto?
Do you think he's a bit too old to be Magneto?
Who's going to play him then?
No, I don't know. I'd love Michael Fassbender to play him, but I think realistically, because Marvel acquired the rights, I don't think they're going to recast a lot of the same actors. I think they would want to move in a fresh direction. I don't have anyone to play Magneto right now. I think that it's a tough role to step into, and I think it would be a good opportunity for a young up-and-coming actor.
Maybe Tom Holland. Jack and Stewart are a fan of him.
Yeah, Tom Holland. I think you could definitely have that duality of him playing Spider-Man and Magneto. I don't think people would do this as well.
They watch Malcolm in the Middle in WandaVision, and I'm quite sure Bryan Cranston's in the Marvel universe. He obviously plays Han and whoever. I don't know who it is, but there you go.
Thanks, thank you.
I don't know if I like it or not.
Oh,
purely because obviously in the first season we got teased that the crossover was going to happen, and then obviously we got the boner joke. And like retrospectively thinking, I'm kind of glad we didn't, because I think I would enjoy X-Men's own thing first before the kind of eventual crossover between the two happens. We don't know when or if WandaVision 2 would happen, but I feel that as this is your way to like introduce the X-Men, I think I don't know, I would just like X-Men to have its own thing first, and I'd like two kind of series finales of an X-Men TV series and an MCU TV series to have a similar ending, to connect something, to do a kind of crossover series itself. But that's just personal. I didn't think it was a good pitch, but I'd prefer it kind of going that way.
Yeah, I know, Jack. I think you raised some good points there. I don't want this to just be like a vehicle just for advertising the next X-Men series. I kind of want to take away, I also don't want the X-Men themselves to be involved. I think this should just be about Wanda's relationship with her father and her half sister. Just to take a second to gather my thoughts here.
While you're doing that, I think Jack does make a good point, because I think he's right in maybe saying that it would be good to have like an X-Men series that would then lead into it, as opposed to just throwing them in the deep end. But at the same time, I really liked Adam's pitch in terms of the themes of Wanda kind of finding herself, because she's kind of at a very vulnerable point in her life. So kind of going back, retracing your steps, finding who you are as a person, and maybe realizing she's not the bad guy, because she has done some pretty bad things, but she's not actually a bad person, which was a similar theme to what I was going for in my series. So I quite like that aspect of it. I don't know what you think, but yeah, I think that part of your pitch, Adam, was really good.
Oh, thanks, Rhys. Thank you. That was what I was going to say, Jack. Yeah, thanks, Rhys, for coming in there.
Got it for you, mate.
Lewis,
I have a few things. Like Rhys, I do enjoy the theme, especially the discovering of her father and maybe trying to go through that kind of acceptance and sort of way. My only issue is, I also totally line with Jack here. I would prefer if the X-Men were their own film series rather than TV show, and we get a sort of Phase 6, I guess, at this point, team up of X-Men Avengers against Galactus or something along those lines. I would like to keep them separate as long as possible to give that delay of gratification. So I guess that's maybe why I have a slight, pull away from your pitch. But my other question, and maybe this is a critique as well, the storyline almost echoes the original X-Men trilogy of Phoenix and Magneto, and I'm worried about that kind of treading on. X-Men has kind of suffered and not really done well cinematically. It's not really done well, and I would worry that would just repeat itself. I mean, Logan, as in Wolverine himself and Logan the film, did really well with this because people really liked his performance. So I'm a bit worried about that, and that's kind of my critique of your pitch, I guess.
No, I think you raised some fair points. I think it is a fair point about wanting the X-Men that universe standing alone, but I would say that we've had very successful introductions. I know it's not a whole universe of different characters we've literally discussed it in this, who've appeared through other films and then gone on to star in their intellectual properties, such as Wandavision. I think it could have a similar effect. I think it's a way to kind of generate people's interest in X-Men again and also get them excited for the future X-Men properties. Again, I think it's a personal thing, want them separated, and that's fair enough. But I think I think this is a good potential to bring in part of the X-Men universe without, revealing the whole thing. I don't think we have to go in deep. I think we can maybe point out the fact that it could give us a background in mutants, it could give us an understanding of them, and then I think Scarlet Witch as intellectual property within the X-Men hasn't really been used in film, and I think that it's, for me, has always been quite disappointing, and I think this is a good opportunity for them to kind of link the two up, and then it could open the door for future crossovers down the line, or maybe even a Scarlet Witch appearance in the X-Men film.
Good, it's a good pitch, Adam. I'm going to go against the grain, perhaps, and just kind of come to your aid a little bit. I like what you're saying about. I kind of see where everybody's coming from. I agree with all sides kind of thing, but I like that you're not letting Magneto touch the X-Men, and I agree with you. We've had basically all of the X-Men films have had Magneto as a villain, so that's obviously time to end that. But maybe have him kind of be like a reverse Professor X for Scarlet Witch, and do that kind of meta commentary on that. I mean, you'll know yourself, Adam. There's tons of X-Men villains that they can use, like Shadow King and Mr. Sinister and everything. You know these ones that I'm on about, Rhys, don't you? Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like Magneto could be off doing his thing with Scarlet Witch, and then he doesn't touch the X-Men at large.
Thank you, Stuart. I'm glad you like that. I'm glad you appreciate that angle.
That's all right, no worries. So we've obviously only got one person left, but Lewis, would you like to spin that wheel, or would you just like to jump right in?
Spin that wheel.
There we go. Who's it gonna be?
For the viewers at home, Jack's internet sucks and there's no actual wheel here. We're just
So we're all imagining it. Oh my God! It's Lewis.
See, oh my goodness! Oh no! Who would have thought?
I really enjoyed that.
I shouted so loud that I echoed, so I probably scared the shit out of the people downstairs. Anyway, getting into my pitch for season 2, and I'm going to do something very, very different. My pitch for WandaVision is this: there is no season 2. For me, WandaVision served its purpose of filling in the time after Endgame, explaining what happened to Wanda and her subsequently learning of her full potential as the Scarlet Witch. Spoiler alert. The end scenes set up Captain Marvel 2, but also, in my opinion, could be the setup for the plot of Doctor Strange 2. Marvel really leaned into the magic side of things for this show, and as I mentioned previously, I was a bit concerned about this, both in terms of its execution as well as its general reception by the public, and both have gone off without a hitch, so this gives me hopes for my pitch. At the end of WandaVision, we see Wanda in a cabin in the mountains living her life, while the Scarlet Witch self, as an astral projection, is reading the Book of the Damned, and I guess learning about the history and abilities of magic, as well as the Scarlet Witch prophecy, and we hear her kids screaming for help, setting up the motivation. So for this movie, it'll both lean into magic, Wanda's motivation for her kids, and learning magic, but also still dealing with the fallout of Endgame and the Infinity Stones. So I'm not entirely set on what the plot is for Doctor Strange 2, both like in real life and for the sake of my pitch, but this is kind of why I think could happen, what I want to see happen, in, I don't know, what I am proclaiming will happen. So Wanda's in a cabin reading the Book of the Damned and comes across information that could help her raise her sons, but it's incomplete and requires further study. Frustrated, she's reminded of Doctor Strange, a magic user himself, but is also well versed and trained, and she seeks him out to gain more knowledge. Upon seeking the Doctor, it's found that he's desperately seeking the Time Stone. Wanda utilizes his fanatic desire to reclaim it and protect the stone to strike a deal for her to help him, if he teaches her magic. However, she lies about this and states it's to prevent the Scarlet Witch prophecy. She doesn't want to be the end of the world, but rather it's a secret ploy because she wants to learn how to bring her kids back. With her still coming to terms with the loss of vision, she's desperate to save her hope, her kids. A desperate attempt to bring them back, goes direly wrong and brings a new magical-based evil to the Earth that she and Strange must combat. Strange's trust of Wanda is completely destroyed and unsure if she can ever be trusted again. This causes Wanda to break down further, feeling even more ostracized, subsequently unleashing the power of the Scarlet Witch, defeating this new evil and threatening Strange. Strange appeals to her humanity, her kids' vision, defeating Thanos and bringing her back from the brink. After seeing what Wanda could be, Doctor Strange takes her into the Masters of the Mystical Arts to teach her. There's my pitch in its entirety.
You know what? I think it's a bit of a scumbag move, but I kind of respect it. I respect it a lot. I like that your pitch for season 2 is no pitch. I think it's really good because you're right. Do we actually need a season 2 of WandaVision? Who knows? But I like.
I certainly don't think so.
I like where you want the characters to go. It's as itself, it's served its purpose and it's going on to something else, so it's kind of done, move on to the next thing. So now I think I do think that's good. Obviously, I know you said it was leading to Captain Marvel 2 and it's going to go with Doctor Strange as well, but I think the ending also serves towards the Defenders TV series that's coming out, so there's a lot of different avenues it's going to go. So I do respect the scumbagness of it, Lewis. Well played.
Lewis, did you know that for the final scene in WandaVision where she's at that cabin, that's the cabin from the film The Evil Dead, and the director of that was one Sam Raimi, who is, or Raimi, I don't know how it's pronounced, who is also the director for Doctor Strange 2. So I have a feeling that could be an Easter egg that will tie into Doctor Strange 2. That being said, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. Not a chance. You're never going to go off the. I loved this show. I desperately want a season 2. So I'm not hearing that there shouldn't be a season 2, even though you gave good reasons. Not having it.
Well, Rhys, unfortunately, during my research from this, it's been confirmed there's no season 2.
Lewis, your picture served its purpose. Move on. Next one.
I would just say, unless you want to rebuke that anymore, Lewis, no. I would just okay, you don't. That's fine. I'll jump in. I would just say, do you not maybe worry that the plot of this is maybe a wee bit similar to the first Doctor Strange in a way. Someone comes seeking magic for selfish needs. Doctor Strange also wants to use it to heal his hands. Scarlet Witch wants to use it to bring her kids back, and then as a result of this, it kind of unravels. And obviously, I know that they do go in different directions. And obviously, Doctor Strange has the original has more of a kind of external villain and a different message. But do you not think that would maybe kind of turn viewers off just the sort of similarities of the initial plot?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, fair enough.
There we go.
I'll expand on it just for the sake of conversation. I don't necessarily think it will put people off. I think the WandaVision as a show has definitely propelled Scarlet Witch character to a new height that people will be wanting to engage with. In terms of it being a sort of like repeated Doctor Strange, the first one, sure, there's definitely similarities there, but there's different ways you could do it. I think adding a slight emphasis on the Infinity Stones, resetting time, making sure time is back to a more coherent level. Obviously, Captain America in Endgame goes back and puts the stones in the back place, which should technically fix time. Maybe there's a way to explore that avenue of the Time Stone with Doctor Strange that could then kind of take it away from the sole focus on the magic part of sort of personal redemption.
No, fair enough.
Lewis, that was very kind of you to expand on that for the sake of conversation on the podcast. Very kind of you.
I'm a giving guy, you know. I may be a scumbag, but I'm a giving scumbag.
Only Jack will just come back. I would never. But I'm not voting for you.
I never called you a scumbag. I said a scumbag move. You know, we're all prone to some scumbag moves during our times. You know what I mean? We've all pulled blood bag.
We've all given all the money to me on Monopoly. You know, we've all done it.
Jack's the biggest scumbag. He'll be playing Rocket League and you'll be through a goal, open net. Jack will come in, take you out for no reason, and we'll both miss. And he'll be like, "What? I clearly had it." And he was miles behind you. Dick!
And then when you respawn, he'll send the ball to you as the keeper. He'll be like, "Save this." Anyway, so those were our pitches. So we have Rhys, season 2 brings in Loki and Vision looking for the Mind Stone, Wanda looking for her kids, and Doctor Strange coming to restore order. Jack, Wanda dealing with Kang the Conqueror, and Vision trying to discover who he is. Adam bringing in the X-Men, building that up with Magneto and Polaris, as well as reconciling with the new Vision. And Lewis with no sequel as such, but new stories with Wanda and Doctor Strange. So if you guys can send me your votes on which pitch you like the best whilst that's going on, I'd just like to remind our listeners to follow us on Twitter and Instagram @_thebigpicture. Where you can send us ideas as well for shows you'd like to see and vote on for which pitches you'd like, or our other polls such as what did you think of Wandavision, where 40% of you thought it was good, 25% voted flawless, 25% said you hadn't seen it, and hopefully we've given you an excuse to watch it, whilst 10% thought it was just plain bad. So I'm just tallying up the votes.
I've not voted yet because I'm genuinely sitting here thinking I don't like any of these.
You don't like any of them? Oh dear.
No, I first time it's ever happened. I don't like Lewis's because I want another one. I don't like Adams because I agree with Jack that I want the X-Men to have their own thing and be kind of brought in. And I don't like Jack's because I feel like he missed out on the parts of the episode or the way that the series led you to think that she will be going to find Vision again because she wants to be with him. So I'm kind of at an impasse here. So
just ask the woman next to you in the car to vote instead.
Is driving away. I said, "Come back! I need an answer." Okay, actually, she didn't go back quick enough, and she might have heard that.
Rhys, you voted for yourself again. You cannot do this.
Okay. I voted for this person, but I just want to know that vote is purely out of it was the one I hated the least.
Rhys, dry your eyes because you wouldn't have made a difference in the outcome. Okay, so we have a clear winner. In joint last place, sadly, it is Rhys and Adam.
The two best pitches.
There you go. So good nobody voted for them. In second place, we have got Lewis with 1 vote. And in first place, a clear winner by a mile, Jack with 3 votes. So this episode's big picture winner is Jack Graham, the man who's done it all, 20 for 20. He's won it.
He's finally done it. We can mark that 20 off and put 3.
Would you like to thank Paul Bettany for your win, Jack?
Well, and I did mention obviously earlier on that it was going to be a double knighthood, but I can confirm it's now a triple knighthood back. London is getting a new trilogy. We're getting everything we want in life, but no, it's good to actually win an episode again. It's a nice feeling. I'm glad that maybe, as maybe what I said to you, that maybe we probably all didn't like each other's pitches, but it's the one that we liked the least. So I'm glad that mine's hated the least out of everyone. So
yeah, that was my entire process. I hated yours the least.
Because I take it doesn't matter. When's a win? When's a look. Stewart, end the show. We're done here.
Now, in retrospect, I feel like we should have all voted for Lewis's because if we can't really enjoy anyone's pitch for season 2, we should just have no pitch.
That's why I exactly voted for Lewis.
So, can I take my vote back? I want to vote for Lewis now. Can I take my vote back, please?
Which vote are you taking back, Rhys? The one for yourself or the one for Jack?
The one for Jack. My pitch was great.
Yeah, sure. Right, that's pretty much all we have time for. But before we go, we'll give you just a little tease for what's coming next time on the channel. Lewis, what have they got to look forward to?
Yeah, so in the next episode, we will be dealing with the next game to be remastered. So we're going all the way back in time, and the guys will be bringing forth what they think should be the next biggest, best remaster for the current gen consoles.
Rayman 2, baby. Come on,
Boo.
back-to-back wins.
No,
Jack, that's
they
already
won't
taken, I'm
that.
afraid. Rhys has taken
Oh!
Rayman 2.
Yeah, I did already. I've already submitted my pitch.
Yeah, a few people have already submitted the pitches, so it's fair to say the guys are keen to get this debate going.
So there you go. We'll see you next time. Thank you to all of our panel. Thank you, Jack, our new winner.
Yep, thanks, Stuart. Thank
I'll
you.
clap for you. I'll clap
Thank you.
for you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a good feeling. Good job, Stuart. Good episode.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thanks to Adam. Commiserations. I thought it was a good pitch.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Stu. I know you appreciate it.
Thank you to Lewis. Lewis, I thought it was a good pitch.
Thank you. It doesn't feel so special when you do it to everybody, but I'll take it anyway.
And thanks to Rhys. Rhys, it was a terrible pitch. You sent me 4 pages of information in a message.
Well, it's interesting that because Stuart, I'll just read out the message. It says, Rhys, I love it. And I was like, really? And
That's all we have time for. Thanks for listening. See you later. Bye.
Ties in all